I'm at the National Eagles and Angels event in Houston, Texas, and we are sitting, I am actually looking out over downtown. I am joined here by John Huemoeller, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Novus Energy, and I'm also joined here by the Chief Operating Officer, Paul Hughes, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Guardian 8. Guys, is this an incredible view or what?
Awesome.
This is fantastic. I've never seen Houston look so good.
Yeah, we're sitting right on top, and we're far enough out of we're about 2 blocks off of, so we're seeing almost the entire downtown. And this was where we had our luncheon. So we finished up the luncheon here. The members came and asked questions and had good involvement, and they presented. Now, John, I really, I want you to explain about our company, but what I'm amazed at is, to me, a lot of times I look for industries when I'm looking to invest money that are disruptive, that are going to change the sector that they're in, that, within a couple years, people are going to have to, use this, and that it replaces the old, and it's the new thing that people have to be better, faster, quicker, more economically viable. I see your company as that. Why don't you give us a little bit of overview of what your company is doing, and then a little bit about the structure of your company?
Okay. Thanks, George. Well, I think we do have possibility for being that disruptive technology in the enhanced oil recovery segment of the oil production here in the United States. We are the licensee of a proprietary technology that came from Russia that incorporates a plasma pulse to increase production in wells, in older wells, and even newer wells for that matter.
Now, what I got to break in there. What is a plasma pulse for our listener out there? People think they know what a plasma pulse is, but do you have a better way to describe it?
Yeah, let me try a different way. What we have is a tool that is lowered into the well down to the perforation zone via a wireline truck, and then we release a plasma pulse with our tool that clears the wellbore of any sedimentation, any clogging, and at the same time it sends a wave, an elastic shock wave, let's call it, into the reservoir, which can travel as far as 1.5 kilometers or 9/10 of a mile, and actually stimulate that reservoir and increase the permeability of that reservoir or that well, so that the oil can then again flow like it might have done 20 years ago. So we've taken wells, now we've treated a number of wells here in the United States, and we've doubled production on that first batch of wells that we've treated. All right,
now for all my listeners, you just got the Houston, Texas 101 on the oil field, but let's break it down for you guys from New Jersey. What he's saying is that, and what you got to know about oil fields is the oil has wax in it, has dirt in it, and they get clogged up over time. And you punch through a lot of ground to get to a pool of oil or a place where that oil is. Over time, that gets clogged up. Now, what John's doing, you explained it very well, I think, with your lightning bolt explanation. You tell us about sort of when you get to that clog, you've got a well that's been there for 10 years. It doesn't, maybe it was producing 50 barrels a day. Now it's producing 2 barrels a day. You come in and explain it from that perspective.
Yeah, from that point on, what we do is with the plasma pulse, and plasma is lightning is one form of plasma, so literally it's a good analogy. And just like it is here, when a lightning bolt strikes a tree, it creates a tremendous amount of heat for just a millisecond. We're creating a tremendous amount of power and heat for 55 milliseconds, which then send a shock wave, or as we would call it with lightning, 4 miles away. 4 seconds later, you hear the thunder from that shock wave or from the initial plasma pulse. What we do with the reservoir is we create that lightning bolt, and then that shock wave travels through the reservoir and stimulates that wellbore so that it produces again.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really, first of all, a mile's an exceptional long way to be seeing the effects of that. But if you want to think about it, for our listeners that aren't oil field savvy, those lines where the oil comes through to get to the pipe, they get clogged up too. And by shaking it with those waves, they're breaking it free, and that oil's coming loose. And then the heat element is actually causing a breakup in the in the pipe itself that brings it to the surface, right? And
Right.
so you've got it at the pipe level, you've got the heat hitting it, and that's opening that up. And then on the oil reservoir, the pool, it's being opened up by the waves. I mean, it's a 1-2 punch.
Correct. And it does both at the same time. I mean, even when you perf a new hole, a new well, the perforations only go 4 to 6 feet into that reservoir. So they get clogged up near the wellbore, and we're able to clear all that sedimentation, any clogging near the wellbore. And then secondly, the elastic wave that the plasma pulse creates, and it's through the repeated treatment that we do. When we do this 20 to 50 times in a perforation or in a 12-inch zone. Each time we do that, the elastic wave goes further and further into that reservoir, kind of like dropping a rock in a pond. You'll see that ripple effect go across the pond. And so we're literally tapping on that reservoir and releasing that oil molecule from the limestone or sandstone or whatever type of formation it's in.
Well, during the presentation today, you brought up a good point that about 20% of America's oil comes from these smaller wells that are referred to sometimes as stripper wells. But in a lot of cases, the wells that you've done test cases on here in the United States, you went out, you did the hard work, you went into real holes, you tested it out. You were able to increase the volume quite a bit. Tell us about how much of the volume of oil coming out of the ground increased with your technology.
Yeah, and again, we just licensed the technology, and so we've only treated 9 wells here in the United States. In Russia, they've treated over 150 wells, but here we've treated 9 in the last 45 days or so. And we've been able to increase that production by 125% on average.
That's fantastic. I mean, if that would be a huge for the United States if this technology, which this is why I think it's disruptive. I mean, anytime you can get double the amount of revenues by using this product, that product's very valuable, especially in the oil field where you probably have anywhere between $30 to $60 a margin at the current oil prices of where they're at. You know, John, one thing before we let you go, tell us a little bit about the structure. A lot of times people are, really have a hard time with smaller companies. Your stock's about 60 cents. Tell us about the structure real quick before we wrap up.
Yeah, again, the parent company is Propel Technologies Group, and it's PROP is the symbol on the OTC markets, and Novus Energy USA is a wholly owned subsidiary of Propel Technologies Group, and we are publicly traded again on the OTC markets under the symbol PROP.
All right, John Huemoeller, thank you very much. I appreciate you being on today, and I appreciate you coming out to the National Eagles and Angels, but mostly what I appreciate is the fact that you were willing to take the risk to get this business off the ground. You work tirelessly day in and day out to build a company. You're putting Americans to work. You're building a stronger energy base for our country. I just want to thank you very much for all you do for our community and our country here.
Thank you, George. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, that's John Huemoeller, and I got to tell you, you need to check out the company. I'm George Jarkesy. We'll be back in just a moment.